Nói đến thời nay thì phải nói đến con người thời nay có khuynh hướng tự mãn và hưởng thụ. Xã hội thời nay thì có khuynh hướng băng hoại, có khuynh hướng tập thể hóa bằng bạo lực. Ở Hoa Kỳ thì Đảng Cộng hòa thời nay là MAGA, xả đầm lầy, làm trong sạch chính quyền, giảm uy quyền và thu nhỏ chính phủ, xem quyền của người dân và đất nước trên hết. Đảng Dân Chủ thời nay là cấp tiến xã hội chủ nghĩa, như đội ngũ của ông Bernie Sanders đã nói là dân chủ xã hội chủ nghĩa là mục tiêu chính, tức là mainstream ngày nay. Và trước đây, 2012, cựu trung tá và dân biểu Quốc hội Alan West cũng đã nói là có đến khoảng 80 đảng viên Cộng sản ở trong Quốc hội. Sau đó người ta hỏi lại, và ông nhất quyết vẫn giữ lời nói của mình. Từ hai luồng ý thức hệ khác nhau mà con người thời nay chia rẽ, khó hòa nhập hơn bao giờ hết. Những vấn đề thời nay sẽ được lần lượt trình bày trên diễn đàn thời nay để quý vị và các bạn tự nhận định. Rất mong sự nhiệt tình ủng hộ của quý vị và các bạn. Chỉ một cái nhấp chuột thôi, ghi danh, subscribe vào diễn đàn thời nay là một đóng góp rất có ý nghĩa nhằm phục vụ cho quý vị và các bạn. Đây là kênh dự phòng thay thế ngay nếu diễn đàn độc lập có trục trặc khác thường. Diễn đàn dự phòng này rất cần đủ số subscribe mới vào cửa thành viên của YouTube được. Quý vị gõ vào diễn đàn thời nay Vĩnh Tường hoặc là click vào link đã giới thiệu ở phần comment đầu tiên của diễn đàn độc lập ở dưới đây. Thì channel diễn đàn thời nay sẽ hiện ra để cho quý vị và các bạn bấm vào subscribe. Xin đa tạ và tạm biệt quý vị và các bạn. Và thưa quý vị và các bạn, trong một cả nhà cùng xem trên diễn đàn thời nay của Vĩnh Tường, có câu hỏi dành cho thời đại này là tại sao Đảng Dân Chủ thời nay ngày càng xa rời lẽ phải thông thường? Tại sao Đảng Dân Chủ lại biểu lộ một cách lộ liễu, xem thường sinh mạng của dân và lại bênh vực tội phạm trong nước và tội phạm di dân bất hợp pháp và chống lại việc làm đúng đắn của một chính phủ nhằm giữ gìn trật tự xã hội, bảo vệ an toàn cho người dân? Trong khi theo lẽ thường, một khi xã hội không an toàn thì quyền tự do chỉ còn trên giấy chứ không thể thực hành. Có phải đây là chủ trương chính trị lâu dài của Đảng Dân Chủ không? Cũng theo lẽ thường, nhà thì có cửa, vườn đất có rào dậu, đất nước có biên cương. Nếu không thì chủ quyền còn đâu? Quyền tư hữu còn đâu? Quyền riêng tư còn đâu? Nhà mà không có cửa thì không ra nhà. Gia đình không còn trật tự, không còn giá trị cương thường thì gia đình mất. Cho dù giàu có, tiền muôn bạc vạn cũng không thể mua được. Biên cương không còn kiểm soát được thì đất nước không còn. Và như thế thì không phải là vô gia đình, vô tổ quốc rồi hay sao? Có phải không thưa quý vị và các bạn? Và trong một cả nhà cùng xem hôm nay xin giới thiệu thước phim Sự Thật được trình bày tóm tắt trên Fox News vào ngày 8 tháng 9 năm 2025. Nhưng trước hết thì quý vị và các bạn hãy cùng xem một đoạn ngắn. Một ông đại diện dân chủ xã nghĩa Bernie Sanders là người đã từng đưa vợ đi hưởng tuần trăng mật ở Liên Xô vào năm 1988. Và khi về thì ông đi sang Cuba để nghiên cứu chính sách của nhà độc tài cộng sản Fidel Castro. Và ông khen ngợi. Ông ở Hoa Kỳ, đại diện cho Đảng Dân Chủ ở Thượng viện, được tự do ăn nói gì cũng được, nhưng có lẽ vẫn chưa thoải mái và lại mơ về Liên bang Xô Viết và Cuba. Và thưa quý vị và các bạn, có phải là theo lẽ thường như là dân gian thường nói, con cá ở ngoài lờ tìm cách chui vào, trong khi những con cá ở trong lờ thì trầy vi tróc vẫy tìm đường để chui ra hay không? Và không hiểu các ngài gọi là trí thức, hay viết báo, hay là hàng ngày chỏ miệng vào loa phường để tuyên truyền, ủng hộ Đảng nhiều năm qua, có biết điều này hay không? Mà không nghe các ngài nói gì cả. Bây giờ thì ông ta cùng với ứng cử viên thị trưởng Zoran Mamdani, người có tư tưởng Marxist, tư tưởng chủ nghĩa cộng sản, chủ nghĩa xã hội, đang quảng bá chính sách ngược lại với nền Cộng hòa tự do tư bản của Hoa Kỳ ở New York. Bên cạnh các cuộc biểu tình bảo vệ di dân bất hợp pháp, chống trục xuất, đòi đóng cửa cơ quan thuế quan và di trú ICE và đòi hợp pháp hóa người nước ngoài. Có phải là phong trào thay đổi chính thể Cộng hòa ở Hoa Kỳ không đủ dân ủng hộ, cho nên phải thả cửa biên giới, gửi thông điệp mời gọi di dân bất hợp pháp tràn vào để có đủ số đứng dưới ngọn cờ xã nghĩa hay không? Và sau đây là một đoạn video clip được trích từ YouTube của Stephen Garner, ông giáo sư luật nổi tiếng Alan Dershowitz theo Đảng Dân Chủ 70 năm, đã từng bào chữa cho Tổng thống Trump trong cuộc trút phế vì mưu đồ chính trị của Đảng Dân Chủ trong nhiệm kỳ đầu. Và vào năm 2024 thì ông đã từ bỏ, và trong tuần qua ông đã tuyên bố quyết liệt chống lại đảng này như sau. Về ứng viên thị trưởng New York Mamdani thuộc Đảng Dân Chủ, giáo sư Dershowitz đã nói rằng Mamdani muốn xóa bỏ chế độ trọng nhân tài của Mỹ để thay bằng cái mà ông gọi là bình đẳng, nhưng thực chất là sự đổ đồng khả năng hạn chế, khiến cho mọi người mất đi cơ hội tự vươn lên bằng chính năng lực của mình. Thay vì kiểu Mỹ là trọng nhân tài, tức là tạo cơ hội và khuyến khích cho mọi người tự vươn lên. Ông nhắc đến câu nói của Martin Luther King mà chính ông đã lĩnh hội từ lúc thiếu niên vào tháng 8 năm 1963. Đó là: tôi có một giấc mơ rằng là con cái của tôi sẽ được đánh giá không phải là dựa trên màu da mà dựa trên phẩm chất của chúng. Nhưng ngược lại bây giờ Mamdani lại truyền bá gánh tư tưởng Marxist gọi là DEI, tức là tư tưởng đa dạng, đổ đồng và gộp chung. Và ông nói khẳng khái như sau: và vì vậy sau hơn 60 năm, bây giờ thì tôi đã 87 tuổi, vậy là 70 năm là đảng viên Dân Chủ, tôi không còn là đảng viên Dân Chủ nữa. Tôi là một người chống lại đảng Dân Chủ. Tôi không phải là đảng viên Cộng Hòa, nhưng tôi là một người chống đảng Dân Chủ. Tôi muốn thấy đảng Dân Chủ mất quyền kiểm soát Hạ viện, mất quyền kiểm soát Thượng viện, mất quyền kiểm soát chức vụ thống đốc, mất quyền kiểm soát thị trưởng, vì họ đang phá hủy nước Mỹ. Và ông cũng nói rằng nếu đảng Dân Chủ giành được quyền kiểm soát Hạ viện và Thượng viện thì họ sẽ bổ nhiệm những kẻ trong nhóm, những kẻ cực đoan chống Mỹ và phá hủy nước Mỹ. Sau cùng thì ông tuyên bố: và vì vậy, đừng trông chờ tôi bỏ phiếu cho đảng Dân Chủ nữa. Thì bố mẹ của tôi đã bỏ phiếu, ông bà của tôi cũng đã bỏ phiếu, ông bà cố tổ của tôi cũng đã bỏ phiếu cho đảng Dân Chủ. Nhưng đảng Dân Chủ đã bỏ rơi tôi, như là họ đã bỏ rơi Ronald Reagan. Và tôi vui mừng cùng với Ronald Reagan và nói rằng tôi là người dân chủ của ngày xưa.
That's what intersectionality doesn't want. That's what the left doesn't want. And so, after 60 years, more, I'm 87 now, so it's 70 years of being a Democrat, I am no longer a Democrat. I am an anti-Democrat. I'm not a Republican, but I'm an anti-Democrat. I want to see the Democrats lose control of the House, lose control of the Senate, lose control of governorships, lose control of mayoral, because they're destroying America. And if the Democrats would have gained control of the House and the Senate, you know who they would appoint as chair people? People from the squad, these anti-American radicals who will destroy America. So don't count on me voting Democrat. Yeah, my parents voted, my grandparents voted, my great-grandparents voted Democrat. But the Democrats have abandoned me the way they abandoned Ronald Reagan. So I'm glad to join Ronald Reagan in saying I'm a former Democrat.
Và thưa quý vị và các bạn, đến đây thì quý vị và các bạn có thể cùng nhau thưởng thức đoạn video của Fox News đã trình bày tình hình hiện tại dân chủ coi thường sinh mạng của người dân và bảo vệ tội phạm như thế nào. Hy vọng các con cháu sẽ giúp giải thích cho các ông bà không biết tiếng Anh.
But first, murdering the truth. That's the focus of tonight's angle. It was yet another story that did not fit the narrative of Democrats and the left-leaning press, which they tried to bury until internet journalists started reporting on it. On August 22nd, a black man with a long arrest record viciously murders a white woman sitting by herself on a train in Charlotte, North Carolina. It was absolutely horrifying, terrifying. The victim was a Ukrainian refugee named Irina Zaratuska. She was only 23 years old, just minding her own business, hurting no one. Still wearing her work uniform, a Zeppedes pizza shirt. The alleged killer, DeCarlos Brown Jr., has passed convictions for armed robbery, felony larceny, breaking and entering, and shoplifting. He's been before magistrates and judges at least a dozen times. After one conviction, he did 5 years in prison and was released back in 2020, but he couldn't stay out of trouble. Earlier this year, he was charged with communicating threats and misuse of the 911 system, but again was released. Ms. Zartuska is dead because the system allowed her murderer to go free time and again. Now, according to WSOC, Brown's own mother was so scared of him, she kicked him out of the house. He was placed under psych monitoring and diagnosed with schizophrenia, but released after 2 weeks and became homeless. The woman who knew Brown best said her own son should have never been released from jail. Now, as of this writing, the press has been conspicuously incurious about this murder. As of only a few hours ago, 0 articles, 0 in the New York Times. The AP finally posted one story about an hour before we went to air. When other outlets did choose to cover the murder, it was often framed, though, in relation to Trump voters. Stabbing video fuels MAGA's crime message, Axios reported. 2 weeks after the killing, CNN finally got around to reporting on it today. This was the headline. Note the reference to how the gruesome murder is stirring debate on crime in cities. Sorry guys, the debate is settled. Left-wing mayors, progressive DAs, lenient judges, and their pro-criminal mindset are destroying public safety. And as a result, criminals are emboldened and running free, terrorizing, even killing innocent people. Now, the Democrat mayor of Charlotte, V. Lyles, has odd priorities, including keeping the video from the public. Over the weekend, she thanked media partners who have chosen not to share the video. How convenient. And when any sane person knows that freak should have been behind bars or institutionalized, the mayor said at the time of the murder that, quote, "We shouldn't arrest our way out of homelessness and mental health challenges." But one would think, right, that even if the mayor was out to lunch, the Charlotte City Council would be pressing for answers about how Mr. Brown was out on the streets in the first place. How could that have happened? Well, instead, they're literally eating cake.
Do we need a short break to get cake? No.
Yeah, they had to take a break to eat cake. President Trump reacted to this fatal stabbing today.
I just give my love and hope to the family of the young woman who was stabbed. A madman, a lunatic, just got up and started. It's right on the tape. Not really watchable because it's so horrible, but just viciously stabbed. She's just sitting there. So they're evil people. We have to be able to handle that. If we don't handle that, we don't have a country.
He's right. If we don't feel safe in public, how are we really even free? The mystery for so many Americans is why Democrats don't seem to care about their fellow Americans. Why do they continuously ignore these stories? Why do they routinely side with violent illegal aliens and against ICE? Do stories like this even matter to them? It doesn't seem like it. A missing woman's alleged killer finally arrested and charged, Hugo Hernandez Mendez, an illegal who never should have been here in the first place. The victim's name is Dakara Thompson. She was only 19. So why do the media demand that we know the names of certain victims? Know their name, but not others? What about the thousands of victims whose stories go unreported and whose killers are protected by sanctuary policies, by Soros-appointed DAs, and just uninterested media outlets? Now, leftists like Jasmine Crockett, well, look, they do have empathy, but it seems to go only one way, to criminals.
I want people to understand that there are crimes that are committed not because people are criminals, but because they literally are trying to survive.
Yeah, their heroes are either the criminals themselves or activists who are interfering with police and with ICE. Remember, a racial narrative pushed by Democrats and adopted by the press in 2020 turned into a nationwide crusade. Not only did riots after George Floyd, caused death and destruction, but it turned a guy with a rap sheet a mile long, George Floyd himself, into a mythic figure. Like the statues were put up in George Floyd's name. Look, we all know what happened here in Charlotte. Their narrative that violent crime in America is only committed by dangerous right-wingers or when mental cases can easily get guns, that all fell apart in this murder. To the major networks, to the big newspapers, and to the rest of the left, only violent crimes that fit their narrative are worth reporting on. They don't care if women are afraid to take public transportation. They don't care if innocent victims are killed in this manner, whether it's a young woman riding the light rail or a DC intern walking on the sidewalk. So when the crimes come, they do the only thing they can do. They cover up for the killer. They don't want you to know how dangerous America really is in these cities, because if you knew, you might actually do something about it. And they think that would be bad for the left. So they won't tell the truth, but we will. And that's the end.
Irina Zarutska boarded a train at 10 o'clock at night in Charlotte, but she never made it home. She left in a body bag with knife wounds to the neck. Viewer discretion, the surveillance footage is graphic. We have it, and we're going to cut out of it just a second before she gets stabbed. Irina was a Ukrainian refugee. She just finished her shift working at a pizza place. She was wearing her work uniform. She gets on the train, sits in front of a black male in a red hoodie. 4.5 minutes later, the man pulls a knife from his pocket, unfolds it, and begins to plunge it into the 23-year-old's neck. Irina was slashed 3 times and left for dead. After the murder, the killer was seen wandering through the train, still clutching the bloody knife, leaving a trail of blood. The killer then took off his bloody hoodie and walked off the train like nothing happened. Irina fled Ukraine in 2022 when Putin started bombing, but she died in North Carolina, riding public transportation. Here was the president just this morning.
I just give my love and hope to the family of the young woman who was stabbed this morning or last night in Charlotte by a madman, a lunatic. Just got up and started. It's right on the tape. Not really watchable because it's so horrible, but just viciously stabbed. She's just sitting there. So they're evil people. We have to be able to handle that. If we don't handle that, we don't have a country.
What kind of monster stabs a woman to death? His name's DeCarlos Brown, 35 years old. He's homeless, and he's been arrested 14 other times. Felony larceny, robbery with a dangerous weapon, assault, shoplifting, public threats. He was sentenced to 7 years for armed robbery. And when he was out on parole, he was arrested for beating up his own sister. But he was never sent back to prison. Earlier this year, he got in more trouble, this time for faking 911 calls. But the judge released him on no cash bail. He was placed on psychiatric monitoring since he'd been diagnosed as a schizophrenic, but obviously he wasn't monitored. This should be a national story, but it's not. A beautiful, innocent Ukrainian refugee was murdered in cold blood in an American city. And the mainstream media has been silent. We're accepting refugees like Irina because they'll be killed if they stay in Ukraine. This is legitimate case for asylum, unlike the scams at the southern border. Democrats told us people like Irina are special.
I've announced 2 days ago we will welcome 100,000 Ukrainian refugees.
Our collective responsibility to ensure the safety and well-being of these refugees.
We have a moral responsibility in the world, as every other country does too, to receive refugees who have a well-founded fear of persecution or harm to return to their own country.
Now, if you have a moral responsibility to receive a refugee like Irina, don't you have a moral responsibility to say something when she's murdered, when you can't protect her? Nancy hasn't said a thing. Outside of North Carolina, no Democrat has. Every politician in the country had something to say the last time surveillance cameras caught a death on a train. The Daniel Penny case was a national sensation. And usually when a blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman gets killed, the media goes wall to wall. Gabby Petito, Natalie Holloway, the Idaho sorority sisters. Why not this time? The Democrat mayor of Charlotte says we should show the killer compassion. Tragic incidents like these should force us to look at what we are doing across our community to address root causes. We will never arrest our way out of issues such as homelessness and mental health. Root causes is what you say to make yourself look deep but really it's just a dodge, like Kamala the borders are. After the Charlotte City Council held a meeting on the murder, they ate cake. Mayor Lyles stopped the proceedings and threw a birthday party for a member of the city council. The governor, Josh Stein, waited until today to say Irina's name, 2 weeks after she got stabbed to death. But when he was attorney general and George Floyd died, he started a task force.
The Task Force for Racial Equity and Criminal Justice will consider and implement measures that can bring about meaningful change to the criminal justice system.
You know what that task force did? It reimagined policing and created alternatives to arrests and, of course, eliminated cash bail for a whole host of crimes. They even hired a DEI consultant to make sure black convicts don't serve too much time. Now, a white woman gets slashed to death by a schizophrenic black ex-con, and the media is blaming the cameras. Quote, the video is easily shared or leaked and can instantly pollinate across social media, a visual counterpoint to statistics showing crime decreases. Ah, yeah, the video of a murder is making it harder for them to convince you crime's down. Brian Stelter says it's racist to share the video.
It's being used, as you said, Brianna, as a political symbol, with MAGA media calling for more forceful punishments and more incarceration. I have to say, some of the replies to Musk, some of the comments around this story are baldly racist, stoking fear of African Americans because this man attacked a white woman. The open racism on sites like X today, it's eye-popping.
So CNN is complaining that people are bringing up race? CNN brings up race in cooking segments. CNN not reporting the story is actually what's racist. This isn't just a one-off. In Philly over the weekend, a woman was just executed in broad daylight, just blocks from the Liberty Bell.
A woman is gunned down and killed in Center City, Philadelphia. Police say it was just before 6 o'clock near 11th and Chestnut Streets. Investigators say the woman was rushed to the hospital where she died a short time later. Police say they do have a suspect in custody but are not yet releasing their identity. Police working to piece together what led to this fatal shooting.
In Chicago this weekend, 18 shot, 6 killed. What does everything have in common? Black suspects, career criminals who keep catching breaks by the justice system. In Washington, D.C., the average homicide suspect has 11 prior arrests. People with that many priors are telling society, if you don't incarcerate me, it's only a matter of time before someone dies. But cities would rather run these ex-cons through rehab programs and get rich. Restorative justice, just another name for saying crime pays. Donald Trump's had enough.
We're all people of religion, but there are evil people, and we have to confront that. When you have horrible killings, you have to take horrible actions.
Now, if we don't confront evil, evil spreads. Just look at history. America needs a true war on crime. Bring back 3-strike laws, mandatory minimums. You got to take the discretion out of the hands of these lunatic judges and DAs. But the media would rather wage a war on Trump than a war on crime.
That, darling, that's fake news.
Well, why would you leave the Department of Defense?
Listen, be quiet. Listen. You don't listen. You never listen. That's why you're second rate. We're not going to war. We're going to clean up our cities. We're going to clean them up so they don't kill 5 people every weekend. That's not war. That's common sense.
Chicago has the most murders of any American city for 7 straight years. The politicians don't want the guard, but the people do.
I'm from Chicago originally, and I do support that. Chicago is a war zone. I really am in favor of what he's doing in D.C. with it. How can you be more BLM than saving their lives?
But you know that crime is down already.
Yeah, but you also know that it's high. I mean, carjacking, even the mayor said carjacking went down 86%. Come on.
New York wants it too.
Do you think we need the National Guard on the streets here?
What?
National Guard on the streets to help with crime.
Maybe more.
You think National Guard or just more police?
More police.
What about armed military?
I think it's good. If we are going to be safe,
then you're all for it.
Yes.
There are neighborhoods in Chicago more dangerous than Iraq. We shouldn't see women executed in Center City, Philadelphia, and Charlotte should be safer than Ukraine. And we should all agree, riding a train shouldn't be a death sentence.
First, another heinous crime caught on video, but because it doesn't fit their narrative, left-wing politicians, their allies, and the legacy media mob have remained largely silent. This is vile. This is vicious. This is evil on tape. Friday night, horrifying surveillance footage of the brutal murder of a Ukrainian refugee on the transit system in Charlotte, North Carolina, was made public. The man responsible is seen pulling out a knife before the video is stopped, and an unsuspecting woman is murdered. The attacker is later seen walking through the train, splattering blood everywhere before getting off. Now, speaking at the Museum of the Bible earlier today, President Trump reacted to this horrific crime, and here's what he had to say.
There are evil people, and we have to confront that. I just give my love and hope to the family of the young woman who was stabbed this morning or last night in Charlotte by a madman, a lunatic. Just got up and started. It's right on the tape. Not really watchable because it's so horrible, but just viciously stabbed. She's just sitting there. So they're evil people. We have to be able to handle that. If we don't handle that, we don't have a country.
Now, here's the worst part. Just like in the case of the alleged United Healthcare CEO assassin Luigi Mangione, remember the radical left, racing to defend this madness and people writing letters to him and turning him into a cult figure? Well, some on the left actually set up a GoFundMe account to support the accused murderer. And yes, people were donating. Thankfully, that has been taken down. One person claimed helping him would, quote, fight against the racism and bias against our people. Another claiming that, quote, failed categorically by the judicial system and the mental health services of North Carolina, and as such is not entirely to blame for what happened, him stabbing an innocent woman that's looking at her phone. Predictably, according to records reviewed by the New York Post, he has a long rap sheet, 14 prior arrests for crimes including larceny, robbery with a dangerous weapon, and communicating threats. President Trump, he took to Truth Social earlier this evening, highlighting the latest tragedy, calling out the left for their weak pro-crime policies that allow violent offenders to continue to roam the streets. Sadly, transit crime is a nationwide problem. Take a look at the New York Post cover from today. 63, do the math here, 63 career criminals on the subway in New York City have racked up over 5,000 arrests combined. All but 5 remain roaming the streets. Many violent crimes among them. Think about this. Only 5 are behind bars, a cluster of 63 serial criminals, over 5,000 crimes combined. This is your modern-day radicalized, insane Democratic Party that embraces defund, dismantle, no bail, and, of course, reimagine the police with social workers. Did something trigger your violence today? Now, the crimes include assault, robbery, theft, and, of course, turnstile jumping. Now, if New York's liberal leaders had any common sense, you might think they would want all 63 people behind bars. These radicals care more about criminals than they do about peaceful, law-abiding citizens. Then the same city turns around and goes after what? A guy like Daniel Penny? Remember, he tried to protect innocent women and children from yet another career criminal who was still free to roam the streets of New York. And thanks to New York's 2019 criminal justice reform, which eliminated cash bail for any misdemeanor and nonviolent felonies, these stupid policies are now institutionalized. Oh, and then we've got, yes, Marxist Kami Mamdani. He wants to decriminalize third-degree assault, third-degree drug possession, DWI, forcible touching, second-degree sexual abuse, third-degree identity theft, and the list goes on.